Showing on how I use ultrasound in enhanced surgery practice. Essentially, in my practice, we see about 25 patients in half a day. So there really isn't much time, but as I said, the machine is available, and these are the cases that I use it for. So the most common one is for ganglions. Why patients come in referred for having certain lumps. And the population that I see is generally more conservative, like they would always ask, do I really need that operation for this lump? So what's helpful to me is to take the ultrasound out and confirm that it is a cyst, which is, I think, relatively easy. Even for a beginner, you can see whether it's a ganglion or not. And if it is a cyst, I can safely tell them that it's okay, auntie, you don't really need to have this taken out. You can go home with it and leave it at that. So that is the most common use for me. So I also see a lot of peripheral nerve cases, so I also use it for carpal tunnel. Mostly is because, as I said, patients can be very conservative. They don't really want to release, but sometimes the carpal tunnel can be very severe, and they do, say like they can still live with it, right? But I find that if I do the ultrasound and show them that the nerve is swollen proximally, then they will go like, oh, okay, looks like there's something. Maybe they will think twice and get that carpal tunnel release. The other thing is ulnar nerve subluxation, as was shown to you earlier very nicely. So if that's the case, I do recommend an anterior transposition on top of the decompression. And the next one is for people with foot drops. So the problem, the patients are usually referred after the surgery, after whatever they did for the hip dislocation or the arthroplasty. And it's hard to image the nerve with all the implants around. So I find the ultrasound is really useful to trace the nerve and see whether or not it is really intact. And lastly, as being shown on the video, is the identifying cervical nerve roots. So we do diagnostic injections for cysticity, and the ultrasound, where their fingers are pointing, are where the nerve roots are, and we're just tracing it. So specifically for flexor tendon, no, I do not do ultrasound guided trigger release, but I do use, and trigger finger is usually, in my practice, a clinical diagnosis, except when it is not actively triggering and you're trying to figure out in your head, is this really a severe trigger or it's something else? That's when the ultrasound comes out. So like for the first patient, I had, first example is a young man that comes to me with he was just flung off a jet ski and he had bruising in his palm, and his main complaint is that he can make a fist except for his middle finger, it doesn't come down. And there's pain in his palm and he cannot grip. Otherwise, he is doing very well and he's able to work and do all his exercises, right? So he comes to me about a month later and he still cannot make that fist, but otherwise there's a tenderness over the A1 area, where the trigger finger is, but I'm also thinking maybe it could be a ruptured or a partially ruptured flexor tendon, given the high energy of the injury. So on examination, there is a tender swelling over the A1 area with no active triggering, and he does have pain on resisted proximal interphalangeal joint flexion, which that's why I say I was thinking FDS, maybe a FDS injury. So that's why the ultrasound came out. Of course, I took an x-ray because it was jet ski and there was no fracture as expected. And essentially, these are the areas. So on the left is the A2 pulley, and on the right, you can see the A1 pulley is slightly thickened. And this is just a series of photos. From the upper left is the area of the DIPJ, which where I usually start to identify my FDP and trace it proximally so that I can see the area where it is more superficial and then goes deeper, because I was looking for the FDS. And over at the PIPJ, we can see that the FDS is indeed intact and in continuous. So I know he didn't have a rupture. And for that patient, actually after another month, he was able to get a full fist and there was no triggering. So that was that. And then the second one is another young gentleman that presents with some sort of triggering. Like initially, you look at his finger, it looks like it's triggering, but then we realize it's in his wrist. And if you look at the video, you can see he has some kind of mass over at his carpal tunnel that is shuttling back and forth. So I thought that was interesting. And on operation, you can see he does have a fibrolipoma. Thank you very much for your time.